Hello, this is Danny Blazer with Excel VBA Dude. So today we're going to look at session 2, which is about a string, which are strings. So what we're going to do is look at a few things. First, what is a string? We're going to see the actual definition of that and how it compares to different data types in VBA. Then we're going to use some useful functions, which are very common, which are left, right, mid, and then len functions. Then we're going to refer to other data types as a string to look into data type conversion. That's what it's called. Then we're going to loop through a string, and we're going to be able to do a multitude of things when you loop through a string. When you want to find something, a pattern, a sequence of sorts, we'll look at all that there. And then lastly, we're going to use replace, trim, and substitute functions with the string, and then we're going to learn how to concatenate, what that means, and what benefits we have to use that. So we got a lot to go through, so let's get started. Alrighty, so what's a string? Well, a string is just a plain text format, not an integer, not a currency, not a date. It's just plain old text from 0 to 55. So 256 total. 128 are the correspond to keyboard letters and symbols, and the other characters are considered special characters, maybe accents, fractions, international alphabets, and all this information can be found on the Microsoft Docs for a string data type. It's actually what I'm referring to. So let's get started with a few things here. So first thing we're going to look over is the we got left, right, mid, and the len functions. So why don't we jump into the editor here. So I got sheet code here. I'm just going to insert a module. I could use a sheet. You know what? Let's just go ahead and use a sheet. So let's go. Let's make a public sub here so it's accessible from everywhere. Public sub string stuff. That's good enough for anything. So make it real simple. Dim str as string data type. So if you ever to get an error, it's because you're trying to pass something off as a string that a function requires something else than a string. We'll get to some of that later, but let's use the left. So if I do, so strings, for one, strings are not objects, so you don't have to set it, where objects like a sheet is an object, an ActiveX object is an object, a workbook, an HTML document, when you do web scraping, all those are objects. You got to do set thing equals something, but we don't have to do that. We don't have to set. So what we're going to do here is just string equals hello. So there's what my string is. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the locals window. Bring it up here. What this is going to do for us is going to print down here all of our variables and their values. So I'm going to hit F8 key to step through this. Once I hit F8 again to pass that, the value becomes what I told it to be, and it's right there. So I'm going to go ahead and step through. These functions, it's important to note, left, right, and mid, a string has to equal that. It returns a value. So you can't just say like left, start the function with the parentheses, str is our function, or sorry, our string, and we want how many characters we want to bring back from the left side of the text. So 1 would bring us the H, 3 would bring us to the L, and so on and so forth. But this won't work. I'll get an error if I run this syntax, because something else has to equal that. What you do is you could just simply put this in as itself. So if I do this now, see string str equals hello. If I do this, it's going to just equal HEL. just hell. So left means left of one string, whatever string that may be, this many characters into it. And right is just the exact same thing. So let me go ahead and stop. Let me hit F8 again. Right will be what? 2 exclamation points and an O. And that's exactly what it is. Now mid has a different parameter. It has a starting position, the string involved, and the amount of characters that can be left out. It'll just assume the length, which is len, which we'll get to next. So let's see where we are. So we'll do mid, and I'll delete and reopen the parentheses so you can see. So there's a string. We want to start at 1, and I'm going to leave length empty. So this brings the rest of the text from left to right, starting from that. You choose where to start with the mid. That's the difference. Right and left you don't choose. You choose from the very right or very left of the string. This you make that selection. So if I just choose 1, what do you think it's going to give me? It's the whole string from that. If I do 2, it's just going to give me that. This is the starting position. If I give the length as 1 and I only choose 2, then it's going to give me the same thing I got before. So it's going to be start at the 2 and just return 1, which is the E. So it just returns the E. And len function, len does not return, it returns an integer. It's not becoming the string again. So if I just type this out, len of the expression, I will get a syntax error here. So this is so the string can't enter this. So let me show you that. Sometimes the data type conversions will take, and with this one it does. So it's 7. Then we can return a variant. So this one is 7, but it could also be an integer. So if I were to dim this one, dim x is integer, I could have x. I don't need to set those data types. So let me go through it again. String equals hello x. Now it's an integer. You see there's no quotes around it because it's not indicating it's a string. It's an integer. So those functions. Now let's remove, go do referring to other data types. There aren't really strings. What we're going to do here is take these off. I'm going to dim C as string again. That's 1. Dim x is integer. Let's spell it right. Let's see here. Dim B as date. So all these formats have to match up. You may get a lot of incorrect data type errors. So date is a function here. So for integer, the date can go several different ways here. So let me show you. X equals date, which is a function, and this gives an overflow. So some of these errors are very strange in how they work out, and sorry I can't explain the specifics of that, but as far as strings are concerned, most anything can be translated into a string. So C is a string. C can equal date. So if I go through there's the date, today's date, January 30th, and what I step through with the number. It's a number, but the quotes around it indicate it's going to be read as a string data type whenever you decide to pass it around. So strings can be universal. That's a great thing for it here. Okay, so let's moving on to looping through strings. There's going to be some cool loops here. So I'm going to make a big string here. C equals hello Welcome to Excel VBA Dude YouTube channel. This is my text. Now I'm going to use some cool looping tools here. This is going to teach us how to loop through text to find what we want to find. So we want to loop for x equals 1, 2. What did we just learn before? What's the length of a text is len, and c is our variable. Let me close it off, close out the procedure. So this one's going to be pretty cool here. I'm going to close this. I'm going to do Control G, which is the same thing as view and the immediate window right there. Bring this up. Let's go through this. So I want to print every, let's say I want every 3 characters from the first one to find a sequence of certain characters as 3. So we're going to do the mid function to do that, to loop through. Mid string. String parameter, C. What do we start at? Well, here's the thing. Let's start at the first one, but we want to loop through that. So let's start at that one, and then length. Let's go 3. Let's have our we have to have something equal it, don't we? So let's get another. Let's change this B to string again. Get this here. B equals that. Let's loop through this, see what we get. So although this has to have an output, I can't just put this. I could have B do that, or I could debug print it as I put down before, but it has to have an output. So let's see here. Hello. So it's moving forward 1 letter each and going to the next one. Now it is noted that when we get to the end, it'll error out because there's not a 3rd character once this gets down here. So I'm going to hit F5 to finish the loop, and look at that, it didn't error out, so that's great. I just so used to so many errors over the years, I just assume the worst, but I'm surprised when I think the worst of it. So that's my bad then. So that's how to loop through and get every 3rd letter, and get letters and 3s as we move along. And so there are some other functions to learn with strings that are really useful. Replace is one. Let me get this loop out of the way. So something has to equal replace 2, or you have to print it out. So I'm going to use the other string, B equals replace. Now replaces says what it is. We're going to use C. So we're going to find something and replace it with something else. So let's replace every E. Now, as from earlier videos you've seen, I don't have option compare text up here. So it's at the top up here. So that means it is case sensitive. So it's going to look for E, and if it finds the instances, let's say we replace it with an asterisk. Okay? And start. You'll see start right here. That doesn't matter. It defaults there to 1. So let's just go ahead and go through that. So I'm going to hit F5 to run through. We didn't see anything because we didn't print it out yet. So what I'm going to do, debug print B. I'm going to hit F5 again. Here's every E has been replaced. It's kind of it looks funky down there, but it shows you that it worked there, so that's great. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this. And it doesn't have to be an exact match of 1. I could do replace E with the whole other word with the word cat. Let I print that, and I'll replace it. This is great for applying this to a loop, going down sheet data and replacing things there. You could use the sheet function just as well, but we're talking about VBA if somebody were to prefer that method or that platform versus the sheet functions. So after replace, we got trim. Trim is great. Trim takes away the spaces before and after that may be there. Say you import data on a sheet, and let's say there's a few spaces in the beginning, and there's a few spaces there. There's not one here, there's not one there, and there's a few spaces at the end of that one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The first two have spaces. So what I'm going to do now is go back in here. I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to delete all this for x equals 4. I could do 1 to 4 because I know that. Otherwise, I'd be able to set the variable of the b. So 1 to 4 because I know that. Next down there. So I could start here. So I could replace the cell data. What I'm going to do here is get my cell count. So worksheets. Let me just do sheets so I don't have to type as much. Sheets 1 dot cells. Cells row is 1. Sorry, x. Iterate through 4. Sorry, 2. Jesus. I'm sorry, I better like this if I'm not trying to make the video for it. So dot value is going to equal the trim function. That's a worksheet function. That's how you get to the trim. Now, unfortunately, I didn't do variables with this, so that's why it's going to look extra long. So I'm going to use the space and an underscore. That tells VBA to go to the next line. To count it as the previous line is you're basically concatenating it, adding it as one whole line. So trim, open parentheses, and I want to do the exact same thing. So I'm taking the value that's in it and I'm replacing it the trimmed version of it. So let me put the cursor out of that. Oh, forgot to do something here with it there. Oh, there we go. So as I step through, you'll see that the best will move over, and you'll see that I'll double click in here. You'll see there's no spaces after battle. Oops. Let me get out of that line there. It's telling me it doesn't like it. There you go. Argument 1 is string. I don't have to do dot value. That was my mistake on that. So let me step through this as the long version. See the space in the left went away. And now here's the fourth one. The fourth one will go away. Sorry about that. Hit F8 one more time. Double click in here. There's no more spaces. It's all gone. Alright, let me cancel that out. So we went over a few things with how to mess with strings and loop through items. One is substitute. That's a nice one. So let me get my string back here. C equals, let's try this one. And then scoot down. Let's go to substitute. So now substitute is different. I'm going to do control space to bring up this menu. This is a worksheet function again. Worksheet function dot substitute, and you'll see what this means. So we're going to take the string itself, which is C, and these are different arguments here. Let me bring this one up for us because this one, let me get this thing here for us. Substitute, because this one's really hard to get through the head. You're asking like, what's the difference between substitute and replace? And they're very similar. So let me get the actual docs up here. I don't have the offline help, so I don't have the little pop-up for help. It brings up the actual browser. So what I'm going to do here is move this so we can see. Replace one part of a text string with a different text string. So here's our parameters, and you'll see there's a lot. So it's the text, it's the old text, and it's the new text. So this is very similar to replace. I think as you see, there is an advantageous parameter for ignore case, so you don't have to add a statement that affects your entire module. You just add the parameter here for case sensitive. And these are some examples that I could do there. So it is very similar to replace, with a few extra parameters that they give us a bonus to use. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I'm going to go ahead and have the same thing, equal substitute C. I'm going to find what text. Let's try this one. I'm going to try that one. And then I'm going to replace it with itself with some more text. I'm going to close it off. Step through. Let's try this one again. So I just kept the one and added something to it. So again, very simple things here. And last thing we're going to talk about is concatenation. There is a worksheet function called that, but it's concat, but we don't have to do that. So you're going to do that. It's up to 30 arguments. Well, regular 29. Virtually all these kind of things have 30 arguments. So what we're going to do here, we're not going to even use that. We don't need that. That's what you use the ampersand for. So C equals, now it's lengthier to do it this way, and E and L again. Oh, so there's hello, all added together with the ampersand. That is what concatenates for us. So let me pull up the locals window again, step through it. 1, 2, 3, there we go. It still equals hello because we added it together. So when you add variables together, if you want to add something to a variable into a loop and add it to sheet data, you can go ahead and do that. So if I added here, if I get my number here, worksheet as, let me get my worksheet object, set worksheet equals worksheets sheet 1. Alright, so I can go for x equals 1 to 4, close off the loop. Because I know it's 4, again, we don't have to make it more complex than we need to be. So I could do worksheet dot cells x2 dot value. We don't have to use dot value in this case, but it's always better to be explicit. Is we could equal itself. So we're going to equal itself and whatever we want to put in here. So I'm going to start with a space 1. Or I could do that in x. I took the value, concatenated a space, dash another space, and then x, which is that. So I'm going to get dash 1, 2, 3, 4 down for each of those right there. Get rid of that. Oops, sorry about that. What's going on? Why is this wrong? Because you have to concatenate every different term. There's a string here by itself. This is a value, and this is the integer, the iteration. There's no and here. That's why I can't interpret it. So now if I step through this, you'll see these change. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and it finishes. So that's a way to really get items. And if we wanted to do the same exact thing, what we would do is we can get another property here, the dot row property. Oop. Let me see if that works like it does a sheet formula. I guess it does not. Okay. So we'd have to do the range property to get the row in here. Otherwise, this is one I would have used right now. Or I took the and out, didn't I? And this, and let me get the X out. That's what I forgot to take out. There we go. So as I go through here, you'll see these won't change. Oh, let's look at that. They will change because I didn't undo what I did before, and so it's -1 plus another dash, 3 and 4. So the row number, and that's the way to match that. So there, again, tons of ways to do this. So I hope you enjoyed all these about strings. I know it wasn't a whole lot fun here, but there will be some other spontaneous videos of a lot more fun stuff with some very useful items, user forms, scraping, HTML bodies using XML exports, CSV data, tables, IDEO streams, all kinds of other stuff coming. So if you like what you saw, subscribe below, and we'll keep them coming. All right, until next time, guys. Cheers.